Hey folks, welcome! This is an artistic interview with our illustrious guest for today. Who could it be? It's Kazerad! Welcome!
Hello, hello.
Hey, we're just gonna be having a little chat while we doodle some things in Magma Studio. Talking about this artist's wondrous comic, as well as anything else that may strike our fancies. Would you like to start off by introducing yourself?
I am bad at self-description, but hi, I'm Kazerad. I write the webcomic Prequel. That I guess that's like the intro.
Awesome! Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. I think you are pretty well known, so like a lot of folks will have heard of you. But for those who haven't heard of your infamous self, what is Prequel about?
Prequel is a interactive story, sort of about. Okay, God, I haven't read it in a while. I have to remember. I'm joking. No, it's one of those things. I think it's best read blind.
Ooh.
I'm really bad at self-describing anything I'm working on.
That's reasonable. I think like
Yeah.
the surprise makes it more interesting. Like if you advertise, hey, this is like a Oblivion webcomic about this and this, you know, people like get preconceived notions in their heads. So,
Yeah.
you know, give them that blind taste test of the things you do.
Sorry, I have not done this in a while. Like the.
Oh, I think you're cutting.
How would you describe it? I can turn that around on you.
How would I describe it? Oh goodness, I wasn't prepared for this. How could you do this to me?
You see.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. You know what? You're right. It's so difficult. Yeah, I would describe it as like an interactive webcomic where there's sort of a character that you are like schizophrenically inserted into their mind and give them commands, almost like a kind of choose your own adventure book in a way. But you're like in direct communicado with the person writing the book, which is kind of a neat experience. How old is Prequel, by the way? Like, how long has it been around for?
I think around 13, 14 years now. It's been going for a while. It was not supposed to, but things occasionally take longer than planned, I've discovered.
Yeah, that's something that can that can definitely occur. Like, what is it like having a project you kind of did not expect to be like so huge in scope, kind of like Star Citizen itself into that scope creep of I don't know if I'll ever finish this.
I In my experience, that's how most projects go. Like, I have never started something that I expected to be as large as it was.
Hmm.
The I think that's normal. It's I think I mentioned recently I've been trying to sort of get a friend moving on his own projects. The way that these things usually start is just with a lot of experimentation and smaller iterations, and then eventually something clicks and you find yourself working on it more and more.
Yeah, I think like a
Like
lot of okay.
before Prequel, might sorry to cut you off there.
Hey, go on.
Before Prequel, one of the big things I did was game design competitions.
Ooh.
Like you might have seen some of the old designs I did for a game called Flicker.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was sort of what set the art style I ended up using in Prequel.
It's interesting, like
Even if
Flickr.
like the game itself is not, it didn't really work. There was
Reading
design flaws.
reading the post-mortem of that game was so fascinating because it's I don't know, like seeing how the sausage gets made and like how kind of ideas either do or don't pan out. Um, I don't know, it's neat to see. And also like I had this brain blast while reading it of like, wait a minute, this is just Among Us, but before Among Us.
Yeah, it's I think Among Us did it a lot better. The you read my retrospective on it, so my opinions probably aren't anything new here. But the big flaw I ran into was just that I was meshing a single player and multiplayer game in a way that I don't think worked.
Hmm.
Like, what Among Us did right in that regard was putting a lot more of the character interaction on the player's plate. You know, it's like the players themselves are the ones who have to hide information
Yeah.
in what they say, and that's it was a good effort. It was an experiment in seeing if I could pull that off, and I determined I could not.
Yeah, I mean, I think like that's the good thing about doing ambitious projects is that even if they don't kind of pan out the way we expect them to, you've still kind of learned a lot from the experience. And
Oh yeah.
like a lot of people will say, "Oh, I can't like make a game or become an artist until everything's perfect. I need to have the optimal level of skill before I even attempt to do things." But like you kind of learn things along the way, and you can even like cannibalize old projects to make new ones.
Yeah, the issue that I've seen a lot of people have is just not willing to do imperfect versions of things. Like, the story I kind of like to tell. I've been on a bit of a robotics kick lately.
Hmm.
Um, what was it? A friend on the other side of the country wanted to go to an event with me, so I'm like, I wonder if I could, make a remote presence robot. And so I tried and ran out of time. So the first version of the robot was actually just a camera mounted on a stick stuck in a stuffed animal that I was manually controlling. And like this to find like a stick that held my phone, I looked around for the right thing and ended up with a spatula. So I like to say the first version of the robot, I iterated on it later, but the first version was a spatula covered with tape. And that's like I think that's an important thing when you're getting into doing stuff, you have to be ready that the first version is going to be a spatula covered with tape.
Mm.
And you have to enjoy the spatula. Like it did the job well. Like
Yeah.
I was able to puppeteer the thing and still had the camera and still had voice coming from it.
Yeah, that is an excellent metaphor. I mean, do you think that's also like a metaphor for kind of how Prequel happened?
I I don't know, Prequel itself was actually I had ran interactive stories like that before.
Hmm.
It's actually like if you dig really far into the history, I might be the first person to do that online, like an illustrated interactive story.
Oh wow, like before Homestuck even?
Yeah, no, like pretty far before Homestuck. I forget if I come before or after. I think the earliest one that's been found in that sort of style was one of the Explosum.net guys running something called Magical Skiing Adventure.
Hmm. That's interesting. Let's see. Yeah, that's really neat. I think that segues
But like
great.
this is deep history of the stuff that like no one cares about. It's not that important.
I mean, I care about this, but we can we
No,
can
no, that's,
we can circle
that's
back to
fine.
that later on. Um, yeah, I am kind of curious. Like, what was the inspiration that kind of like happened before Prequel, like emerged from your mind? Like what?
I
Hang on.
Oh yeah, no, go on, elaborate the question.
No, no, that was all I had. I was just rambling.
Okay. Well, before doing Prequel, I was actually in psychology.
Hmm.
Was planning to go up to a PhD specifically studying the mechanics by which people learn to draw, because that's a interesting field. There hasn't been a ton of formal research on it since like Betty Edwards. I'm not sure if you ever heard that name.
I haven't. No.
Okay, it's the person who wrote the book Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain.
Oh.
And there's, it is an interesting field, but I figured, to get into that, I need to get more experience with art. And then I fell in, and now, 15 years later, I'm a professional artist. But the coming into it, I was like coming right out of a degree in psychology, so I wanted to capture a hopefully accurate and informed by people I talked to experience of, I, I guess, largely just struggles with depression and self-confidence issues.
Yeah, I think like the comic is a excellent example of that because
Thanks.
you can really see like the psychology background because it's like something about the way that the characters' mindsets are written and like they feel like real people, which I think is very much the ideal when you're working on some kind of like creative project with like a lot of focus on character development. Uh, like you want the reader or the listener or the watcher to be able to like empathize with those main characters. Um, and I think you kind of nailed it with like Katia, and
I appreciate it.
like I am so curious about like the thought process that went behind kind of designing all that.
I In what regard? Like, it is a slightly hard topic to broach, just in that the question can mean a lot of things. Like, I did not necessarily plan it out in great detail. I like to say there was exactly one sketch done beforehand, and that was the planning.
Hmm. That is interesting because like a lot of people will kind of like hesitate to work on a project unless they feel it's kind of um like reached a state of I don't know, like it needs to
Okay,
be.
like in their defense, I did
Mm.
have like my big ambitious project ideas I was planning and perpetually putting off, and then like I drank a bunch of beer and said I'm going to make a Oblivion fanfic about a cat, and started it the next day.
I mean
So that
that's what Hemingway said,
yeah,
like, write drunk, edit sober.
and I think like it's normal to have a project idea you get really really into and then fall into something by accident.
Mm.
It's a yeah, did you ever follow Daystone? I kind of feel that's what happened there.
Daystone. That sounds familiar. Hold on. Oh yeah, that was Van Ripper. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and like the big thing he's known for now is what was it, Helltaker? Am I
Yeah, yeah.
remembering that name right?
That sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah. I don't actually know what happened to Daystone, but it seemed like the kind of thing that he put a lot of planning into before falling into a new side project.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think I remember seeing this video he put out of like, yeah, each episode of Daystone takes like 2 years of my life to make, so I kind of have to like balance if I want to like quit my job and make it like 1 year to put out an episode. But also, I mean,
Hold on, is there a way to flip the canvas? I want to see if this actually looks horrible.
oh, that's a great idea. I know mine does. This is why you
Oh,
sketch.
there we go. Oh, no, she looks fine. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, we're good.
Yeah, I'm drawing. I assume anyone watching
I
would
see
know by
over
now.
there.
But a Tron 2 from like the later bits
Yeah,
of
yeah.
the comic. Which, by the way, I love that character. I thought it was like a really refreshing thing of like Katia being like on the rock for 5 years. Of like, hey, here's a new character.
Yeah, no, apologies for the rock. Like, I was trying to update faster, but fell into other stuff for a while.
Yeah, stuff such as the text adventure game that you recently just finished. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Oh, thank you. That was a fun one to make too. It was pulling up an old design I made like 10 years ago. I was asking a site if I asked the site if I could make an interactive banner ad, and I came up with an idea for it. They said no, so I was like, okay, I'll shelve this idea for someday.
I'll do it myself. Yeah, it is really cool. Like, that is actually what inspired me to contact you. I was like looking, I just kept pressing or typing philosophize over and over again, and there kept being more dialogue. And I was like, wow, I need to talk to the person who wrote this. Because I don't know, it's just like you have such a fascinating mindset. Like, I love the way that you approach writing. I should have glazed this in a better way.
No, it's fine. I do appreciate it.
No, like it is interesting. Like I think, I consider Prequel to be a very like one of the best written comics that I've seen, and
Yeah, that's cool.
I
I
think
appreciate that a lot.
like as someone who keeps making writing projects and then scrapping them and then thinking I should have done something with this. I was looking like at all these old Google Docs of things I was supposed to work on and didn't. Uh, like what is it like working on a project kind of this sheer scope with like I guess like 10,000 or more people like desperately awaiting the next issue of the story.
I think like the weirdest part about it that a lot of people don't realize when they get into projects is there comes a certain point where it's been going on for so long that you're essentially writing fan fiction of yourself.
Hmm.
Like you're reading back to earlier pages and trying to make sure you're still matching the tone.
Yeah, that's I had never actually considered that, by the way.
Yeah, like it's a part that I think doesn't come up in a lot of cases when people are thinking about this sort of thing. But like one of the things that I'm glad I did with it is I kind of consciously went into it with a style in mind, with the pacing, the dialogue, that sort of thing. So that makes it a little easier to match than if I was just like writing at the absolute maximum capabilities I had.
Yeah, definitely. Like, what kind of Oh man, I had a great question. It's gone now. I forgot it. Yeah. Are there any like stories from the kind of development of prequel that you think are like interesting to talk about?
I mean, like the development itself didn't last super long. That was like I think it was started the day after I came up with the idea for it.
Mm.
So there's not a whole lot of stories there.
What is interesting is like I remember reading it for the first time, and the fact that like in the middle of the comic, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I just like made an entire RPG Maker game, that you can play to further the story. Enjoy." It's like it's really high quality too. Like it's not just uh like, oh, it's few NPCs lurking around, then you get back to it. It's like genuinely something that I would play on Steam, which
Nice.
that's crazy to me.
Yeah, no, that was actually like message I always try to give people is not to expect they'll jump immediately into a big project that they fall in love with. I mentioned this wasn't my first interactive story like this. It also wasn't the first one I did interactive games like that for.
Mhm.
So I had some experience going in there. Like it wasn't great, the older ones. Like when I was running a game like, or I guess a story like this, when I was a teenager, I had this point where, like I set up this elaborate puzzle. I was like, the players are going to go past this once they're able to solve it.
Mm.
And nobody could solve it. So, like, rather than cut them any slack, be like, whoops, you solved it. I guess that was the solution. Let's go on. And actually moving the story, I decided to just make a downloadable game version of the puzzle. And they never did solve it, but they managed to brute force it.
Wait, this was
So
like an ARG style game, or?
not really an ARG. It was pretty much like Prequel. Like it was on a forum. I was drawing pictures with it, writing text. People were saying things like, get ye flask, and
I see.
but nobody could solve the puzzle. So I made the downloadable one, and they still had no idea how it worked, and they brute forced it. So everyone lost. But it was a learning experience.
Yeah, I think it is neat like how many like it's not just a webcomic, like there's all these like little ARG kind of elements in like there I think at one point uh there was like secret hidden in like a secret website, and you had like decode everything, and people were like in the comments obsessing over it.
I Are you thinking about the how was it? You had to enter a code for the conjuration thing.
I think so, maybe I have a very bad
Okay,
memory,
yeah,
so.
yeah. No, that was I'm a little sad about that one though, because at the time, the number you were putting in, I actually got it as a phone number. It I got a number that traced to a place called something like Skellytown,
Huh. Is that a
and
real location?
I apparently, and like you could call it, and there would be skeleton noises on the other end. I set that up too,
What is a skeleton
but
noise? Like just bones rattling?
but then like I didn't log in for long enough. I lost the number. It was just like one of the Google ones, but
Oh no. Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah,
yeah, no, I put way too much effort into that one. This is why Prequel never updates.
I mean, I think you put like a lot of effort into kind of everything you do, which is, like that perfectionist mindset or I don't, ambitious mindset is like that blessing and a curse of, like everything is amazing, but also very little gets done.
I am trying to speed up a little at least. That's
That's understandable. Um, Tell me about this text adventure project. I'm actually drawing the character right now. Wow.
ooh, yeah, that's well, like I said, it was a design from around 10 years ago. Like I basically plotted out the whole thing and then just never made it. Um, it's mainly to promote the new merchandise. Like I'm being pretty transparent about that. I wanted to throw a little side story together.
Fair enough.
It takes place after another one of the side stories, the Dodger Break the Law one, and in a lot of ways, it's a parody of the adventure game genre, but in a different angle than most parodies. Like, a lot of them really. A lot of times when people are parodying the genre, they play up the rigidity of it, I want to say.
Mm.
Like you have to choose the exact phrasing to solve the puzzle, and kind of the joke in Spider Cult is largely that the puzzle solving doesn't work that way.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about it is like how clever you can be about like, okay, I don't speak these people's language. They cannot understand me. I am far too weak to fight them. How do I get out of any situation? And I think like the three bars are like awkwardness, how much they like you, and how much they are getting like sick of your shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's I'm glad I made it relatively intuitive. Like most people figure it out pretty quick. The uh, the idea is actually stolen from another RPG I tried to make. God, I want to say it was in 2015. What's that? 10 years ago now.
Hmm. How time doth fly.
Yeah. But one of those things I never finished because it was for the 7-day roguelike competition, and 5 years later, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna finish it in time for the deadline.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's how Hollow Knight happened, so they were like, we can't finish this thing, but we can like keep working on it.
Oh yeah. Like I think another one is Surgeon Simulator was made for a 24-hour contest.
I can see that. Yeah, it is like how vast is your background in like game dev? Like is would you consider that your main thing over like being a writer and a comic artist or uh
It's hard to say. Like I have experience with doing comics and also experience doing games. None of it's like industry
mm,
level professional or anything.
mhm,
Mostly just like deep indie, I guess I'd say.
mm, deep indie, I like
Where it's like I won't even join a web ring because that's not indie enough.
that. I'm
The
gonna I'm gonna put my games on a secret website that only two people can access.
yes, yeah, like what's that? God, I think it was a T-shirt that webcomic that indie bands made. It's like, my music tastes are so indie that I listened to this garage band and killed them afterwards so nobody could ever hear them.
Oh, the good old hipster mindset, yeah.
But how did I get on that?
I think we were talking about like game dev and like your experience with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I would say there's a lot about game dev that I find more comfortable than doing comics.
Hmm.
Like one of the big things is that even in a story like Prequel, where it's just text and images, you have to draw a lot for the amount of dialogue you have.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that I'll do stuff like those mini games is actually kind of to save work,
Really?
because yeah, it's very easy to put a lot of text into those. You just have a face graphic, you have some words next to it. It's not like you have to draw 12 unique pictures of Katia making faces throughout it.
Yeah. There's always the Control Alt Delete method of just like copy pasting a bunch of expressions.
Yeah, and like it's more acceptable in games. Like you're not gonna criticize me for using the same face graphic 12 times in a row. I think there's a sort of visual language to it too. Like people get used to it as a just nomenclature for this is the character that's talking.
Hmm.
And a lot of games you don't even necessarily have different expressions on the face graphics. It's just sort of a way of saying this character says.
Yeah.
And once people get used to that and accept it, it fades into the background. It's like one of those pieces of writing advice they give a lot of struggling new authors is to not get super varied with your ways of saying said.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because like when you're just saying said and maybe the occasional answered, then it doesn't take precedence. It just fades into something that people accept.
Yeah, I think Terry Pratchett is a great example of that. I'm a big fan of his work. Um, where he, like, in his earlier books, you can say, like, the character's, like, intoned, gesticulated, prevaricated, and in his later books, the character said this, character said that. But
Yeah,
it, like,
yeah,
it allows more focus on the actual important parts, like, of the actual writing.
yeah.
Actually, that is a good segue. Do you have, like, any writing inspirations that kind of, you would say, like, affected the way that you write, like, characters or dialogue, or just, like, your approaches to a story?
I hmm, I have to think about that one for a second. I'd say not really. I'm one of those people who is less motivated by like this author is great and I want to be like them, and more motivated by like I could do this so much better than this person. It's like I want to create so this thing they made takes up a smaller percentage of the overall creations of humanity.
Yeah, I mean that. I feel like, honestly, I feel like that's how a lot of satire happens, or like parody happens, where it's like
Yeah,
there is this universe with a lot of things that don't make sense and a lot of poorly thought out world building. I am going to make something that is kind of like that, but it takes the piss out of it and is also ends up being better.
yeah, and like even the comic itself, like I would readily describe it as a parody of the Elder Scrolls Oblivion
But like in a
more
way,
than an homage to it. Like it's affectionate. I like the game, but at the same time, there's I guess one of my biggest criticisms of it, or maybe the series in general, is how sort of removed it gets from the actual mechanics. Like, when you're casting a spell, like it's something that comes up in Prequel a lot. In the game, you press a button and it casts the spell. But that doesn't really elaborate on I guess, what it's meaning in the setting, why it's difficult to learn, that sort of thing.
hmm.
And there's a lot of world building in that I feel doesn't really get explored. Like, maybe make me extra hipster, but I feel like the game Redguard was the
Mm.
last Elder Scrolls game that was just fully willing to delve into stuff like that.
Interesting. A lot. Usually, the hipster game is Morrowind. That people are like, yeah, this is the one that makes it feel
Oh
like an
man, like
RPG.
if you want me to be super hipster, Morrowind is largely kind of just taking and elaborating on ideas that were set up in Redguard.
Really interesting.
Yeah, like Redguard was the first game that had a Dwemer dungeon in it,
Mm.
and it was just the Dwemer dungeon. They established stuff like the little roly sphere robots,
Yeah, yeah.
and and in Morrowind, it just sort of becomes an entire class of dungeon. They take the unique thing that was set up in Redguard and expand it over a broader area. Which I'm not saying Morrowind is bad, but if you play Daggerfall and Redguard, you can really clearly see that Morrowind was the attempt to hybridize the strengths of both.
Mm. Well, do you think that's the reason it was more popular?
Probably, yeah. Like, Daggerfall was definitely a little too heavy on the scope, whereas I almost want to say, like, Redguard was a little too limited on the scope. Like, it was an adventure game. It fell prey to all the normal adventure game problems. But it also had that strength where, like, it was probably the first game in the series where every character was a character.
Mm.
Last game in the series, I think, where almost every character had their own voice. and their own model too, versus like generic
Yeah, Skyrim
models
NPC.
for each race. Yeah, and like there was a lot of love put into it because it was focused on a very small area, just the one island, Strosmakai.
Hmm.
And they had the one town that had like one bookseller. You can talk to him, you can buy books, you can read every book that you buy. They took that into Morrowind too. Like it was sort of in Daggerfall, but with a more limited selection, I want to say.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. Like, the more niche something is, the more like has a cult following of people who like are absolutely obsessed with it. Whereas, like, if something's like made for broad appeal, it's like, yeah, there's people who kind of, like it, and like there's like, a lot of fan base stuff around it. But it's like it doesn't just hit for that like tiny group of like 5 people who are like, this is the best thing I have ever seen in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, there's a parallel I like to use for this. There's some pieces of media that are like Garfield,
Mm.
where it's almost anyone can look at it, maybe get a slight snicker out of it, but it's very rarely going to be someone's favorite piece of media.
Mm.
Whereas there's other things that are designed to be like the favorite thing of a very specific subgroup of people. And most stuff obviously falls somewhere on a spectrum between the two. But it's definitely two different mentalities that go into making things.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably the reason like the AAA games industry is such a leviathan of slop is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
it's like people in like a big board meeting saying, "Hey, okay, here's all the things that have worked and made money in previous games. Let's just put all of that into one big old like aberration golem and then unleash it upon the world because that will make us the most money, won't it? That's how it works."
Yeah, and I mean, like, the idea that they're going in is that sort of snicker and move on. Like, they want people to enjoy something very briefly, but it to be a huge number of people,
Hmm.
and then move on from it.
Yeah.
But like this coexists fine with indie stuff. One of my favorite developers. Have you ever heard of Jeff Vogel? I think I'm saying that name
I
right.
haven't, no.
He runs a company called Spiderweb Software. It was actually one of the things that probably got me into game design. Like my dad brought home these old shareware discs back when that was a thing
Hmm.
that had the game Exile on it.
Okay.
And young me discovered that I could edit the BMP files in the game to make the characters look different, and that started me down a dangerous path. But the he's one of those people I would describe as like a really pure indie who's just still running his own company after probably higher over 30 years now.
Oh wow.
And the way he's described it is that his audience is so consistent and dedicated that a lot of the people he sells games to today were people who purchased the original Exile.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's a small audience, but it's dedicated. It's sticking with them, and that's a good ideal to aim for, I think. Like at least if someone is going for that a niche appeal.
Yeah, definitely. I think like you don't need the big slice of the pie to like be doing okay in this world. You just need to find like enough to get by. And some people, there's like that sellout mentality of, oh, yeah, I'm gonna make my thing for broad appeal. Uh, but also, I think like sometimes it happens is just, a person wants to move on from whatever they're known for, and
Yeah.
like their cult fan base is like, well, this is different from the thing that we know you for, and therefore it's bad.
I mean, like that's a normal thing. Like when you have a following that likes one specific thing and you try to make another, it's always going to be sort of a struggle because you're getting a new following.
Mm.
The don't know if it's like appropriate table conversation for a stream, but that's something I hear from a lot of people that do adult art.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I
Is
bet.
that they get a following that is interested in that, but then when they're trying to transfer into something else, they lose that following, and a lot of them feel kind of stuck because it just sort of shuffles them back to what they were doing before, because that's where they have the audience. That's how they make money.
Hmm.
And even if they have a very large audience there, it doesn't really transfer over.
I don't know why this comes to mind, but I think of like the one clip of Anthony Bourdain, like sitting on a beach somewhere on his TV show, and someone comments like, "How is this related to cooking?" And then there's a caption of like, "Never specialize. You'll just fuck you over in the end."
I mean, like, God, honestly, that's one of the reasons I do try to put a big variety of stuff into Prequel.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
like there's more things that I could comfortably move into. I feel just because I have experience with it, and I have parts of my audience, I guess, that do like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think like
Yeah, like not everyone will like the games, or not everyone will like the comic parts even, but I at least have access to both those groups of people. So if I wanted to move into games or comics, that is a little bit of a start. I'm not going to end up in such of a dead end.
yeah, I think there's that element of like, there's elements of the fan base that like you for you and will like loyally like check out whatever you do even if it's not to their taste. And then there's that element of like people who are like, I want to see like the ending of this story. It's like I'm only here for the cat. And it's like, it's I guess
Oh
it's
yeah, no, like that's always a little frustrating to me. Like
yeah.
there's people that are like, can't you just hand the comic off to someone else so it gets an ending? And I'm like, that's not really an ending to it, is it?
That's
But
just fan fiction.
yeah, no, I might be an extremist on that though. I'm one of the people that like feels that no Star Wars after George Lucas is canon, because
Mm.
at that point it's just fan fiction. When you change who legally owns something, it doesn't, like, that's just paper.
Yeah. It makes me think of like George R. R. Martin and like the Winds of Winter and how people are like, yeah, he's never
Oh,
gonna
is that out
finish.
yet?
He's never gonna finish A Dream of Spring. He's gonna be dead before that happens, which is really sad because like you look at like George's blog posts and he's like, you can tell it's affecting him. Um,
Aw.
but at the same time, I guess like I guess there's a sense of entitlement of people who are like, "Hey, man, I'm invested in those books you were writing, and these characters are real people to me. And the fact that you haven't shown what happens to them is a personal offense."
I mean, like, I can respect the passion behind it, but at the same time, it's I think when someone's saying like, "Can you just hand it off to someone else so I can know what happens to the characters?" It's kind of going into the terrain of like, well, that's not knowing what happens to the characters. That's fan fiction.
Yeah,
That's fan fiction of the fan fiction.
going back to like Terry Pratchett, before he passed away, he put all of his unused story ideas into a hard drive and ordered it to be demolished with a steamroller. So, because he's like,
Kind of tying things together. Did you actually know Pratchett was a big fan of Elder Scrolls Oblivion?
yes, I did. He had a whole mod
Yeah, yeah, and like
that he worked
I
on.
mean, the context behind the mod is very depressing though. It was
Yeah.
yeah, he was starting to come down with Alzheimer's and needed a character to guide him.
It is really cool how he just like messaged the mod creator and then proceeded to like make writing for the mod. Uh, I need to actually check it out at some point. I keep telling myself I will, but I am a chronic procrastinator, so it doesn't happen.
No, I can get that.
Um, awesome. I think we're getting up on that time, so we can wrap this up. Is there any like future stuff you're working on that you want to talk about? Any like plans that you've got, or are you kind of just taking it one day at a time?
I mean, like, I have a few things I'm poking at, but it's mostly side stuff, and like I don't. People get worried that I'm giving up on Prequel if I talk about doing anything else.
Mm.
I still am making weird merchandise and trying to sell it. That's fun.
Yeah, I saw like the
Tempted to do
Lego.
a sequel to Spider Cult at some point. But sorry, what were you saying?
Oh yeah, I saw the Lego stuff you were doing. I used to be a big Bionicle fan. Used to be. I still am.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
it's been fun getting in design here.
yeah, it's really fun. What's about a spider cult?
I'm thinking about doing a sequel to it at some point, but that's like not urgent at all. So yeah, at first I need to draw the cat a whole bunch.
Well, hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for being here. It was awesome to get to chat with you for a bit. Until next time.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for the interview. It was very fun.
Yeah, thanks for little doodles of, I assume this is Katya and Quillweave?
Yeah, yeah.
Also known as Porcupine Dodger from the hit story Porcupine Dodger, which...
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny that if I'm selling merchandise of her.
Spoilers. I see how it is. All right, man. You take care. Have a great day. See ya.
Right, see ya.
Bye-bye.